Okay, we are live on Facebook and recording.
Thank you. It, you're muted, Clay.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Saying I have a weak connection for some reason.
It's 4, but I'll give it another few minutes for maybe a couple more. I see Jillian, a few more coming on, and maybe if Clay has got some technical things he's working out, I'll hold off another minute or two.
Right, so let me do this.
Heather, did we lose Dr. Lloyd too, or do I just not see him?
Yeah, I think something happened to him. Here he comes back.
We lost Clay too. We'll wait and get him back.
Right, Sarah, I'm sorry, I got kicked out.
All right, we're waiting another minute on Clay. He got kicked out too.
Okay.
Here comes Clay.
Is that any better?
Well, talk again.
Is that any better? I don't know. I think the snow maybe is messing with my signal
I think CJ just dropped off. It may be messing with everybody's
in the
signal.
holler.
I can hear you better now. When you first spoke, your mouth was moving, then your words came after, so I couldn't concentrate on that because it was like watching an old movie. All right, well, maybe we'll go ahead. looks like all the committees here, so we'll go ahead in case the snow is causing some issues, so we can go ahead and get our business done. So I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Budget Committee for February 1st, 2021. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Clay Blazer,
Here.
Angela Husky Grooms. Angela's not here?
She's on here. She's just muted.
Okay.
There,
Rich
here.
Lloyd.
Sorry.
There she,
Thank you, Angela. Rich Lloyd,
I'm here.
Crystal Ottinger,
Here.
Norman Smith.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, next on the agenda is budget amendments and transfers for the county. And you should have received those in an email.
do you want to do approval of minutes first, Mayor?
Oh, yeah, that is the next one. Thank you, Heather.
That's
Sorry, approval of last month's minutes, please.
I'll
I
make a
move-
motion to approve.
And I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Being as this is Zoom, everything has to be done through roll call. I don't know if that has changed. Do you, Clay? Okay, so we'll do a roll call.
I think it's still the same.
Okay. Clay Blazer,
Yes.
Angela Husky Grooms,
Yes.
Yes.
Rich Lloyd,
Yes.
Crystal Ottinger,
Yes.
Norman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next now is budget amendments and transfers for the county.
Okay, I know it looks like a lot, but it's really just a few that we have this month. I'll just go over them real brief. Like the first one, general administration, $2,000. We're just adjusting for some increase in paper costs. No additional funds. We're just moving some from one line to the other. Accounting and budgeting, same thing in my budget. I have just a little bit of potential overages in a couple of lines. I'm just going to clean that up. Drug court, those are just the fees that we collect that we then have to turn around and pay out. We amend the budget for those every so often throughout the year. Chancery court, just a little $5 overage that we're taking care of. And then the sheriff's department is all revenues that have come in, except for the last one is moving monies from overtime to part-time. CJ, well, he's floating on and off of here. I think he's on. If you have any questions regarding any of that stuff, he is on here. And then the last one is landfill is just over a couple $100 in their office supplies. We're just adjusting to clean that up. So if you have any questions.
Can you hear me, Heather?
Yeah, I can hear you, CJ. Do you have
Thank
anything
you.
you want to say?
Internet connection was bad.
Does anyone have any questions on the county's budget transfers and amendments? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
I'll say, okay.
All right, we have a motion and a second. If we could
I'm
please,
sorry, who did the second?
Norman,
Thank you.
and if we could, April, do a roll call.
Okay. Clay Blazer,
Yes.
Angela Husky Grooms,
Yes.
Rich Lloyd,
Yes.
Crystal Ottinger,
Yes.
Norman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is budget amendments and transfers for the school.
Deborah is on here if you all have any questions for her.
What is the Tennessee State Bank school cards? Is that a donation or something?
Yes, it's for the people purchase their debit card or a credit card, and they give $10 for each card.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Do we have any other questions or further discussion on the budget amendments and transfers for the school? If not, I'll entertain an emotion on this as well.
I move we approve.
Have a motion from Norman,
Second. From
second
Rich.
from Dr. Lloyd.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. April, if you would do a roll call on this as well, please.
Clay Blazer,
Yes.
Angela Husky Grooms,
Yes.
Yes.
Rich Lloyd,
Yes.
Crystal Ottinger,
Yes.
Norman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we move on the agenda, the next item is discussion of IT employee research.
You all had asked me back in December to talk to other finance directors and see what other counties did for IT staff. I found it's all over the board. Some have one for the whole county. Some have one for the county and then one set specifically for the sheriff's department. Then some share with the schools. Some use a local IT company. So it just kind of varied. So I don't know that helped much, but that's what I found out. And I just wanted to report that back to the committee. Hold on, Clay's coming back on. Okay.
Heather, do you have any idea the cost associated with any of those or here?
The only one county told me roughly what they pay theirs, and that was between, they said they I guess they had two on staff and it ranged between 35 and 45,000. That was only county that told me anything. Of course, Knox County had 48 on staff, so I just kind of ignored them.
How much is that costing us a year? Again, I can't recall what that number looked like.
Well, we didn't really talk numbers too much. Only thing we talked about was possible, because the county doesn't really have a designated IT person on staff, and we had discussed possibly what our options were for doing that. And Clay had said something about sharing with the schools, and then you all just asked me to check around and see what other counties did.
I certainly think that we have a need, and that's something that we
And
should
I had just
look
some
into. I'm sorry, Clay.
Oh no, you're fine. I was going to say, and I don't know how good my signal is. I had just a couple of conversations. The school system has 3 people, and I know Deborah could obviously speak to that more than I do, but I think they're pretty much covered up. I mean, I don't know. So it would almost be like, I don't see how that would work in that situation, being able to sort of share that with them. I mean, because I think that those 3 people are just busy all the time. I did kind of get an idea of, Carol gave me basically like a salary schedule of how they did that. And there were several variables that could impact your salary. So, I mean, one of the things I would like to think about moving forward is not so much setting a specific like setting all this up, but almost to sort of see what comes to us before we decide what a salary sort of came. Because I think that you could get somebody who's really qualified and does a lot of stuff, and is worth obviously more than someone less qualified, if that makes any sense.
I didn't have anything that needed action on this. I just wanted to tell you all that what I had found out from other counties. But I think we can further talk about this in the budget meetings if you all would like to discuss it later on.
I would think it's worth pursuing.
I agree.
I would too.
Yeah, definitely.
Heather, is that something you could kind of get some information on? I know we've sent out the request for people to get their budgets in, so we could start on that. Can we put in a place for this for discussion and possible implementation?
Yeah, I can go ahead and bring it up just in general during one of the budget meetings because it doesn't necessarily, I don't know what elected official it fall under, so I don't want to assign it to elected officials. So, but I'll work on drawing up some numbers, maybe possibly. We are looking at hiring someone though. Is that what we are looking at possibly doing, not outsourcing it?
I think we should, and that way you've got one person that knows your systems rather than having to educate everybody that walks in the door.
Okay. Okay, because that changes how I go about this. So, okay.
That's just my opinion, but because I know that when you have, in my experience, when you have people that come in that's not really familiar with that system, with your systems and how things work, how it's wired, it takes quite a bit of time just for them to become familiar. And then a few weeks later, you have another issue and you bring somebody else in. Well, then you've got to waste that same time again. It's just a waste of time on not only, our wallets, but, the time of the person that's trying to explain everything to them. That's just my opinion. Probably more expensive to do it on a contracted basis in the long run, in my opinion.
Okay.
Any further discussion on an IT employee before we move on? Okay, next on the agenda is discussion of fund balance policy research.
Okay, you all had also asked me a couple months ago when we brought up the fund balance policy, what would happen if we set one and something happened and we didn't meet it. So I've asked about that, and it would not be a problem getting the budget passed. However, they would note it in the state would note it in their letter that they send us every year that says, your budget passed, but here's, the things you need to work on. They would note that. But they did say that it would most likely be an audit finding. If we didn't meet our fund balance policy, they did encourage, though, the state did encourage me that we should have some kind of policy, even just something that we can live with. They just said, make it something you can live with, and then revisit it on a year-to-year basis based on your goals for the county. So that's what I found out about that.
Is this something that you all think we should look at? Heather, do you think we should look at it prior to the budget or see what we're going to be working with this budget and see if we can find that magic number that we can live with?
I think we can try to do it during this budget, and then we might pass it simultaneously with the budget possibly.
Remind me, we do not currently have a fund balance policy, correct?
Correct.
And so we would need to establish a policy.
Correct.
And would that be something like a percentage?
Yeah, on CTAS, and I apologize, I didn't print out the example again this month, but on CTAS, I think theirs isn't, the example they give is a percentage of your expenditures for the year, but it could be a percentage, it could be a set dollar amount. If we felt more comfortable saying we want to keep 400,000 in unassigned fund balance instead of a percentage.
What is the state going to say we need before they would mark us?
They just want us to have something so that we are starting to look at our fund balance and trying to create goals for the county and help the financial position of the county. They say that a fund balance helps you strengthen your financial position.
Obviously, yeah. So would we be thinking something like you would say to a family, you want to have 3 months worth of savings, in case something bad would happen. So when we think of fund balance, are we thinking something like that we would want to have X amount of money put aside so that if something catastrophic would happen, we would have something to fall back on for a period of time?
Exactly. That's
Okay.
exactly what the idea is. We may not necessarily set ourselves on 3 months because that is a little high for what our normal practice has been. We may get there somewhere way down the future, but just getting something established is what the state is really encouraging us to do.
Okay. I'm good for us coming up with policy and coming up with a percentage or a number of whatever that would be, and I would lean on you for whatever you think that number should be.
Okay.
For us putting something on paper to have that CLB signs off on, so that when we create a budget, we know what that number needs to be.
Correct. Okay. I will work on that. We'll talk about that during this budget meeting. Mayor, back to your question. I think this first time, I think passing it with this budget will be okay. I guess in the future, you probably want your fund balance policy before you did your budget, but this first time, I think doing it together will work.
Okay, say we have to use that money for X catastrophic event. Is that something that we need to try to always maintain in there? So we need to plan for extra, make that our policy, but have more than that in there in case something does happen. I'm not as familiar with this.
Yeah, you can set a minimum. Like if we set a minimum, we have to have 400,000 in there. That doesn't mean, and I'm just making that number up. That doesn't mean we can't have 500,000 in there. And then, but the state also suggested we could revisit this every year. So if we knew something happened, then maybe this time right before the budget, we could look at our fund balance policy and say, hey, we've had a bad year this year. For this next year, let's set our fund balance policy kind of lower, because we don't think we can meet that this time because of something that's happened. So they did say we could revisit it every year and renew that and do something different every year.
Thank you. Does anyone have any more discussion on the fund balance research? Well, with no objections, the next item on the agenda is surplus property.
Okay, Joe is on here. Joe has 2 items that he would like to put up for surplus. And one of them is a military generator. And I'm going to let Joe talk about these items. And then the other one is an inflatable boat that he's wanting to put up for surplus so that he can sell these.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Heather. There are 3 items. There are 2 military generators and 1 boat, but the way I wrote it up, it presents as one because there's only 1 photo, but they're identical in nature. So this is the first item. This is a military generator. It's a 15,000 kilowatt generator that was purchased in November of 2015. We have 2 that are identical to this. They can only be towed by a military vehicle, and to set them up correctly without running the risk of injuring or killing anyone, it's got to be grounded precisely and properly. There are a lot of it takes some specialized training to run this generator. It's not just something that, you know, Parrottsville Volunteer Fire Department can pick up and take out and, you know, power their fire department for a couple of days till the power comes on. It's possible that they were purchased as an investment. I've been here, March, it'll be 2 years, and we have not put either one of these into service in the almost 2 years that I've been here. So the goal with these two generators, what I want to do is I want to take the proceeds from these two generators and I want to purchase what the county needs, what I feel like we can use. And that would be an enclosed trailer, a 6x12 enclosed trailer that would house 6 1200 watt generators that can be run off of dual fuel, either gasoline or propane. And in the event of a widespread power outage like we had at Christmas, we would be able to trailer those to the places that we need power for our citizens. And they're civilian grade, meaning they can be operated by just about anybody that, you know, can turn the key and start them up. They could also be used at the fair for the fairground activities. They can be used downtown in Newport for festivals as they come up. And one of the other big benefits would be the election commission could use them in the event we use power at any of the election polling places that we have around the county. So that would be the purpose of selling these two generators. Does anybody have any questions about that course of action or that plan?
What kind of dollar amount are you talking about?
That's a good question. We did some research on these, and depending on the condition and the age, they could go anywhere from $3,000 up to $6,000 or maybe even a little bit more. Both generators start up great. They purr like a kitten, but there's a problem with the transfer of power, meaning that the engine runs fine and it's creating power, but for whatever reason, when you plug something into the electrical outlet that's on the generator, the AC, you're not getting any power. It's not powering the device, and we can't figure out why. I've had a military trained generator mechanic look at them, but before I sunk a bunch of money into them, I wanted to see, you know, what they might be worth on gov deals in the current condition that they're in. I'd be willing to bet that anybody that knows anything about them knows how to repair them and work on them. I don't have it within the confines of my budget to maintain military grade equipment such as this. The Humvee and the large dual wheel vehicle are things that I can reasonably maintain, but not something like this.
Is there a market for it?
There absolutely is. As a matter of fact, to the point, Caleb Lawson is our district coordinator from TEMA. He seems to think that based off the climate of the country right now, that there would be a big market for these, and we actually might be able to exceed fair market value if we sold them now and took advantage of the climate. For somebody that wanted to take these machines and put them stationary somewhere and get a military electrician to come out and properly ground them and then run the connection to a building, installing the proper, you know, switch that would transfer power from the breaker box to this machine, this would be a very formidable tool. As a matter of fact, we offered it to the county's Cocke County school system to see if they wanted them for their buildings, but it really wasn't something that they could maintain within the confines of their budget either. So that's why the option to offer them on gov deals where they more than likely originated would be the way to go. Instead of just sitting out in the fairgrounds, we can take that money and put it to use and get what we need.
Do you think that the sale of these generators would be enough to buy what you're wanting to buy?
If it's not, it'll be really close. It'll be very close, but I do think it will be, yes.
On gov deals, you can always put a reserve. And if it doesn't bring in what you think and doesn't meet the reserve, you can pull it from it.
Mayor, do we need a proposal to send this on to CLB? Do we need a recommendation? What do we need to do?
Yes, you just need to vote to surplus these items out so it can go before the full CLB.
Now those are the two generators. The third item is this boat. Do we need to vote on these separately, ma'am?
No, it can be all one one, one motion.
Okay, the third item is this inflatable boat with dual 90 horsepower Yamaha motors on them. This was purchased some time ago for the county, and I believe that at one time it was operable and it ran well. The problem with the boat is that for the amount of open water that falls within Cocke County borders, this boat wouldn't be of much use. We have rivers, lakes, and streams where the type of boat that we need would be a steel hull boat with a jet propulsion, not a prop propulsion motor. So again, this is one of those items that's been sitting at the fairgrounds for almost 2 years and it hasn't been put into service. I took it down to White Pine Marina and they only charge us $10 for an evaluation. They seem to think it would probably cost somewhere between $900 and $1,200 to patch the hull to make sure it'll hold air and to get both of those engines running correctly. And if we did that, it would probably be worth somewhere around $4,500. If we sold it as is, they seem to think that we could probably reasonably get somewhere around $3,000 for the setup as it sits. I'm inclined to sell it as is with the report from White Pine Marina saying what it would need to get the boat operational, and let somebody that knows something about boats take it off our hands and do the work themselves and save some money. So those are the three items that I would like to surplus, and whatever the generators don't bring in towards the generator project, I would use the proceeds from the boat sale to compensate. And if I exceeded that amount, then the proceeds from the boat sale would go towards something else.
Have any more questions for Joe or in regards to the surplus property?
Well, knowing that this is a CLB decision, I recommend that we send this on to CLB and let them make that decision. So I propose that we send it to CLB.
I'll second.
All right, we have a first by Dr. Lloyd, a second by Angela. Any more discussion? If not, I'll ask for a roll call, April.
Okay. Clay Blazer, Clay,
Yes.
Angela Husky Groom,
Yes. Yes.
Rich Lloyd,
Yes.
Yes.
Crystal Ottinger,
Yes.
Norman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, your vote only counts one time, just so you know.
Sorry. I'm trying.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda is the presentation of cleaning proposals. Sorry, I've been just holding the space bar, but since this is me, I was actually going to really unmute myself. Earlier on, a few months back, the commission was concerned about the state of the courthouse, how it looked, the broken windows, the dirty windows, cobwebs, and they asked that be removed from the current caretaking, which was done through the sheriff's office through inmate labor. and another proposal on how to get the courthouse cleaned. When it was discussed, they did say, you know, it was more than one person could handle, and it is. So what I would like to do, when they said take this over, we didn't know what it would cost yet or have a plan for it. So what I would like to do is hire one full-time person at $10 an hour with benefits and everything. That comes up to about $28,000. That would be a full-time person to do, to start out with, specifically the projects that really need some attention. In correlation with that, I can get a cleaning group to come 2 to 3 times a week, for $26,000. That would be for the year. They would come 2 to 3 times, depending on which one we picked, which company, and do all the cleaning. All offices were very excited about that, having an actual reputable, licensed, insured company come in and clean. There was only one office that did not want to participate, and that's because they have some confidential things that they didn't want an outside entity, or I think even an inside entity. So they're doing their own one office, their own cleaning. So that would be an additional, what I'd ask for is 54,000. It's $54,175, and that's for the cleaning service to come 3 days a week, and one county employee is a cleaning person to clean the other 2 days and do specific projects like clean all the walls, clean the baseboards, clean the courtrooms, and clean them thoroughly. I would also ask for an additional $7,420, and that would clean the outside. That cleans all of the windows. I only found one company that was willing to clean the 3rd floor because a lot of those windows are broken out. Some of them have wooden window panes where the courthouse is just so old. So a lot of them were concerned on that, but it would be to clean all the windows, including the 3rd floor, pressure and the annex, pressure wash the entire courthouse, and also clean they would actually rappel down to get the I don't know if it's limestone, exactly what it is, but to clean all the moss and the black and the gray, and really clean the outside of both the courthouse and the annex. So that is the 7,420 would be as needed. We would have to see what this first one would look like. They can't guarantee that they can get all that off because it hasn't been cleaned in so long. They say it usually takes a few phases, which they say you don't have to do it every year, but it could possibly take a few times over a few years to get that back to its original condition. But then the windows, they said you could do that every year, once a year. If it got bad, you could do it twice. That also includes cleaning the inside of the windows, not the 3rd floor, because that's the jail on the inside, so they can't come in there. But it's the offices on the 3rd floor and the tall windows on the courthouse that you can't reach, just a regular person on a ladder.
So the outside of the building, that's $7,400 each time that they come, or is it going to be a higher charge the first time because it's in such bad shape?
This is for coming out one time and doing they're going to pressure wash and clean all the outside of both the courthouse and the annex. From the top, they're going to rappel down from the top all the way down and clean to the ground level. Also the stage area and the steps, all the windows on both buildings.
So it'll be like $7,400 a year to keep it maintained. Okay, I didn't know if it was going to be a little bit higher charge initially since there hadn't been any cleanings in a while. My other question on the folks that you're going to have clean the inside of the courthouse is, who's going to manage or oversee this to make sure that the job's being done properly?
That falls under my office now, because
One more thing.
they changed it. It wasn't at the sheriff's department, so they changed it and put it under mine. So, I mean, it's really gonna take a group. It's gonna be all the department heads, because while, I can set it all up, they're gonna want certain things. There might be having court on the 2 days, because they don't always have court on the same days. So we're all gonna have to work together to find the best possible solution, and work through it, because this is gonna be new for us. But they were very excited about it, and the companies did say they could come during the day. Um, like certain things, in possibly my office, they can dust certain things, but my main desk, I've got things laid out on it. So it shouldn't be any higher, but there's a chance that the price will be a little lower. The ag may be cooking something for one of their programs in the kitchen that day. So it may skip ag that day and get them the next day, but the county person could go in and clean up after an ag program.
Okay.
Do we currently have any money that we put, whether it's through the sheriff's department or through the county part of it, toward the cleaning of the buildings? Is there any offset to this money?
Not to my knowledge, because the person that was kind of overseeing the inmates was more maintenance than custodial or janitorial. So I think this is going to be out. You could.
So this is a new item that we're putting into the budget.
Yes.
Okay, and I guess the question is, do we have money?
Well, this year we do have, with that Governor Lee money that we had come in at the beginning of the year. Remember, we allocated that out a little bit. There is some of that could cover us for this year. But going forward, this is something that we will have to put in the budget going forward.
And that's about a total of about $61,000. Is that about right?
Yeah, $61,595.
Yeah.
I guess I'm just shocked that we didn't have a cleaning person.
It's normally been done with the maintenance custodian with inmate labor, but there's times like with COVID, we didn't have anybody, and they're maybe not as thorough as possibly someone being paid would be. So we're hoping that, not that they don't get a benefit, but we're hoping that to have someone that has the actual oversight, and that's what they do, is their profession. And all of these companies were licensed, insured, and they have a reputation. They do other. I picked the best ones and try to compare, because they're quite different. The things they do, some don't do certain things, some do. But they've done the Anderson County Courthouse, one of them did. So they all seem to have really good references and be very familiar with everything from hospitals to other county government facilities. So I'm hoping that this will be what we need. And then again, if it looks like the hiring and outsourcing from a cleaning company doesn't work, we could reevaluate that after, a year. And if need be, hire an additional county employee as another cleaning person, and go from there.
I don't know that I would suggest going into a contract for a year. In my past jobs, I've worked with some cleaning companies, and there's some that are horrible. They have a pretty good sales pitch, but they're absolutely horrible. So I'd be careful about entering into a contract. That would be my suggestion. But I guess at the end of the day, this just needs to go on to the CLB to see if there's a way we can find the money to do this. I agree there's a need. It's just a matter of, is there money?
You can always enter into contract and then and have it in there that you can let them go for cause. I mean, we do football coaches that way. So we
There you go.
That we do. I'm gonna leave out that part where we pay them throughout the duration of their contract, though.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I remember right, we have $200,000 or $300,000 surplus at the end of this year's budget, and we're going to take $60,000 of that essentially, going forward. And so, if CLB thinks that we could do that, I think it's a good deal. It's just a matter of what they think. So, I'm supportive of us moving it on if somebody makes that motion.
Well, I'll make the motion to move it on to the CLB. So I'll make a motion to approve.
Angela, do you care to also include in your motion the applicable budget amendment as well, so we can clean all that up in 1 month?
Okay, I'll make a motion to the applicable what?
Budget amendment.
Budget amendment, as well as potentially getting the cleaning service and a full-time employee for the cleaning services at the courthouse and the annex.
And I'll second that. I'll sign off on that. I can do that.
All right, we have a motion from Angela and a second from Dr. Lloyd. Do we have any further discussion? If not, I'll ask for a roll call vote.
Clay Blazer,
Yes.
Angela Husky Groom,
Yes.
Rich Lloyd,
Yes.
Crystal Ottinger,
Yes.
Norman Smith.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next to last item on the agenda is solid waste board proposals. Who's okay, Tony?
Yeah, I guess that's to me then. Yeah, we discussed the other night that of opening our phase 1 of the new landfill and what it would take to open it and the equipment we would have to have for the landfill, as well as all the overfill from the old one moved, plus the closure of the old landfill plus the new one when it gets full. The do y'all want me to just tell you the prices on everything, or just the proposal for the total amount? How would you like it? There's only about 4 or 5 things there that have a price to
Does anybody have a preference on that?
I've never
No.
done this before, so I'm just wanting to be courteous to you all.
I can share my screen with the email that he sent me with that information if y'all want to visually see it.
Yeah, I would. Yes.
Heather, can you make it to where I can share my screen?
Hold on, Jillian. I don't know. I've never done that before. I'm not. Did that work, Jillian? Okay.
Can you guys see that?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, as you can see there, the total cost for opening the new landfill is going to run right at 1.3 million. The removal of the old landfill, the stuff that was overfilled that we're going to have to move and put into the new one immediately, we don't have an exact amount because it's just a huge pile, and it was basically an estimated amount, and we estimated what it would take to move it to the new landfill. Once we get the new landfill open, that has to be moved first thing once we get the new landfill open, so to avoid any kind of fines or anything from the state. And on top of that, we were looking at about this is honestly, this could be a whole lot less, but it was $90 per hour per truck. And we were thinking somewhere along the lines of about 12,000 to move I can't even give you a real close estimate. There's thousands of tons that have to be moved that were overfilled on the old landfill and have just been sitting up there. So we just estimated that at 12,000. That could be a lot less. That's a high estimate. And then we have to have 2 pieces of equipment, heavy machinery, to operate the new landfill. Everything that we have out there it's actually been worn out about 3 or 4 times. That would be the track loader at $335,000. That's those are on state contracts. I checked into going through state contract prices. That's actually about 225,000 less than if you bought it outright from someone, getting it through the state contract. The compactor, which is a big steel wheeled, I sent 2 pictures to them to be able to see what the pieces of equipment look like. The big steel wheel compactor that's what you use to move all your garbage around with, to pack it and get as much efficiency out of your landfill as possible. And it came up to $510,000 for a total amount of 2.525 million for the entire amount.
Hey, I've got one question, if you don't mind, and it's kind of been bothering me a little bit. But I'm sorry I didn't make it to the landfill. I wasn't able to make it to the landfill committee last time. But we hired an engineering firm, as you all know, several years ago to have this ready. And I mean, it's pretty well admitted that they didn't do their job. And we look down and see how much money it's cost us. Why have we not pursued the legal means for them to recoup some of that money back?
Okay, as far as I know, I have spoken with them directly. According to them, and we would have to have this investigated by, I'm sure, an attorney of our own, but according to the scope of their project of what they were supposed to do, they fulfilled that. That's according to them. As far as what happened with the money before this board was ever formed, they had someone in there. They ended up getting rid of him and getting that straightened out. As far as this proposal here, this was just we've already got our permit for opening the new landfill. If we continue to kick this down the road like it's been done in the past, according to what was told to me, we're going to end up past the season of being able to start this landfill and the construction of it. We're also going to be past the point of being able to use our permit, which we spent a bukus of money on. We've got our permit. We had a vote as far as our solid waste board to just stick with them right now to get this open. And then that would give us time to check into or see about going with another firm, checking in legally as to what we can do as far as anything has any reimbursements or anything like that to the county. We're just trying not to lose this permit that we spent 5 years and thousands of dollars on to get. And with the new administration coming in, we have absolutely no idea what they're going to come in with their Green New Deal and what regulations that they're going to change. And if we haven't started our landfill when they do all their changes, the state could come back on us and say, well, you've not started. We're going to have to redo all this and add the new regulations that the new administration's added. So we decided to try to just stick with getting the landfill open, and then we could explore other avenues of whether we needed to legal action, whether we needed to go with a different company or any of those things. This is just to get the landfill open to where we can get legal with the state as far as the overage that we have and start trying to bring our costs of hauling garbage off down. That's what this is about. While we've got this permit, we spent a fortune to get this permit. We want to use it so that, you know, we've not wasted money there too.
Yeah, just to kind of emphasize what Tony said, we have until December. That's when our permit expires, so we need to be started well before December. We need to think about the construction season. And we've not had any problems with McGill Associates, who we've been working with now, Kathy. I believe the person who we did have the issue with previously is no longer with McGill Associates. Our mayor would have to speak more to that because me and Tony were not part of the situation whenever all that happened years ago. But we are currently satisfied with our services from McGill Associates. As far as any legal recourse, that's something that would have to go through the county.
If I can speak up for a moment, TDEC may have had some issues playing into this, and so it may be a matter of sorting some things out. And so I'm with the rest of the board as far as going ahead with this. I think we could go ahead. I think we can do two things in one actually. So I do think that this thing does need a good investigation into it, but we do need to move ahead at the same time.
Does anybody else have any questions regarding the landfill proposal?
How will we pay for this?
That's what we were coming to you for, to see what we can do or can't do. That's as I said, this is my first time even dealing with anything like this. So we're just coming to see what we can and can't do. I mean, that's what we were looking at.
Heather, have you looked at funding for this?
No, my first thought that comes to mind is possibly a THDA loan for the 2.5 million, because that would be an awful lot of property tax to move into that, and I don't know that we can do that without a substantial tax increase. So I can look into different loan options possibly, but that's all I know of.
And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but we are currently spending about $80,000 a month to haul a lot of our trash to with Green for Life.
Yes.
And so we've got this situation, and then on the other hand, we are also looking, we had a compactor proposal to put in compactors at each of the convenience centers, which would decrease the amount that we were paying to haul off the trash. However, Green for Life sent a somewhat aggressively toned email to us that said our contract proposal would expire yesterday due to the potential increase in steel prices and other things. So we're also looking at ways to decrease our budget through the investment of putting in compactors, but it would decrease our price because the amount of trash that got hauled off with each load would weigh more. So there would be less trips taking that trash off because it would be more dense, less volume.
Hey Clay, when they decided to close and buy the property to open a new landfill way back when, and Norman, you may have been on the CLB then too. I was not here then, but do you know how they intended on paying for the construction of the landfill back then?
I don't remember, Norman, if you remember specifically the part of this came about with the additional space that was purchased. I mean, good, better, indifferent. There was someone on the commission who had a tie into that was being sold. So I know that that was where we were moving into, but I don't know all the specifics related to it. Norman, do you remember any of that?
Hey, Heather, I can't see everybody anymore to see if he's even talking. Can we switch back to not this?
There we go.
We've lost Norman. Can you make sure he's not like in the waiting room or anything?
He's not in the waiting room. I'm not sure what's happened.
This is above my pay grade because CLB has to make this decision. But I would highly recommend that we have a funding plan that when it goes to CLB, whether that is through a loan, that we have some kind of game plan to say this is what it would cost. If on a loan basis, is this going to be 30 years, $100,000 a year, and we got to put $100,000 into the budget. $100,000 that offsets the $80,000, and so we need to. I think we need a game plan, or do we keep as we're doing? But that's a CLB decision, and I think we need to have a game plan to how to fund it. The need is obvious, but we got to fund it, and with some kind of plan, and then I think we kick it down the road to CLB. I hate to us keep doing that, but they're the ones who the CLB makes the decisions. So
I agree with you, Rich. I was thinking the same thing. I mean, and I'm just, I'm like you. I'm new. I'm a new kid on the block, and it's above my pay grade as well. But the only way that I can see that we can possibly even entertain this, and obviously we've got to do something. That we've been in crisis mode with this situation way too long. So we're going to have to do something. I think it's going to have to be a combination of a loan. I don't see any way around that, as well as, we got to find the money, and whether it be, as bad as I hate to say it, because I feel like I'm taxed to death, we're going to have a tax increase, wheel tax or something. It's the money. We got to find the money. I mean, this is a dire need for this county. So I think you're right. We're going to have to kick it down the road to the CLB and let them make some hard decisions.
Heather, do you want a couple of options for next month to see, check with Scott and see what his thoughts are on it? Scott Gibson's our financial advisors from Cumberland Securities, and see what all our options are.
Yeah, that's I'll work on that. What is our timeline for that? Like, when's our goal to get started so that we, like, if I work on this for the next month, that's March, and then we vote on it, and then I guess that's still good, isn't it? We're still early in the year. Okay.
Well, I'd like to apologize to everyone. I was under the assumption that I was just supposed to present this to y'all and then we go from there. So forgive me for not having a game plan. I didn't, I guess, totally understand what I was supposed to be doing tonight. So, but yes, it is something we have to address. Your construction season is going to be probably between late April to October or so. And this is a pretty good amount of construction that has to be done. So yeah, we don't need to kick it way down the road as far as that goes, but yeah, we've got time to do it, and to get a game plan ready as far as that goes. All I have done is I've spent the last month pretty much every day checking into prices and construction prices and equipment prices and all this kind of stuff to try to give you an idea of what it was going to cost. And it's actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Heather, I think it's a little bit closer to $90,000 a month that we're spending on the garbage. And it's almost $1 million last year to just haul garbage off. And we're actually going to be talking Thursday about some other ideas about getting that price down too, but in our regular meeting. But this was just basically getting everything together to show you what it was going to cost to open the landfill.
And if it's costing us $1 million, then I think if we have a 25 or 30 year loan, I think we're going to pay substantially less than $1 million, and that's going to offset the cost, I think.
Is this for both the 80,000? Is that just for C&D, or is that for?
That's everything.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is that's class 1 as well.
That 80,000, that whole $1 million, that's not going to go away with this. So
that's for household waste from the convenience centers, not the construction stuff that's being taken to the landfill. And something to keep in mind whenever you say 25 to 30 years is this landfill that we are doing has like a 15 to 19 year life expectancy. So
the $80,000 bills that we're getting every month includes everything that we're hauling off right now. C&D that we can't put in the landfill. It includes the household garbage that we will still have to continue to pay to haul off because we do not have a class 1 landfill. So that 80,000 is everything. So the $1 million that we hauled off last year was everything.
So it's not all going to go away. We're still going to have household trash that we pay, unless they come up with something else on that end. This would only be not having to haul off the C&D, which our current landfill and our permitted landfills for.
I mean, today's February 1, and if we're looking mid-April, we have about a 10-week timeline for CLB to make approval and find out how to do that. So that they could get construction started. So I think the best thing we could do is send it to CLB and begin to have something in place. And if we want to wait a month before we send it to them with a plan in place, we could do that, or we could just send it to them now and let. And I think the question CLB ultimately has to ask us, how do you pay for it?
If you all don't care to wait a month and let me talk to Scott Gibson now that I have some hard numbers in front of me, and then get back with you all with a report from him.
And I'm good, and I'm also good if you need to call us in to have a meeting. So once you get those numbers, and so we can get it to CLB quicker. So I'm good either way.
And I can promise you from right this point on, I will not be this unprepared again. That's a gospel promise to you. Made look like a fool.
No, we completely understand. There were some questions, and we've had boards, and it's been a lot. So it's learning experiences all around. So nobody feel ill prepared. This was one that we had to get some numbers out to even see what we're working with. And we appreciate you getting them to us. And now the next step will be.
I would agree. Yes. Thank you.
I just don't like to waste your time. That's the only thing I feel bad about. Sorry about that.
No, not at all. We needed these numbers to go to the next step. So.
Okay. I don't know that we need a proposal to say we go to next month. We just wait.
Yeah. We just go with knowing that Heather's going to get some information for us to present next month.
Right, good. Thank you for your work.
Does anybody? Oh, Angela, you're muted.
There I go. I would like to say, if we were to get it before 30 days, in other words, I don't think we should wait 30 days. If there's a way we can get these numbers before 30 days so we can get it to CLB that much quicker, I'm all down for that, because I don't feel like this is something we need to sit on. I feel like time is money.
And I would concur with Angela. I would. Even if we just get it back to the solid waste board, whatever we can do.
The only thing about that is everything that goes to this month's CLB meeting has to be turned in by Friday. And I don't know that I could gather all this and us meet again before Friday.
I understand.
Clay, would you consider a special called meeting?
We could do that, or the other one I was going to say, Heather, I mean, it can be on the agenda, but now I think, and I don't know exactly where we're going to head with the meeting next month, but that's always something too. We can come, that could be one of those that to expedite county business. I think we can amend the minutes as long as you can get it by, what would that be? 2 weeks from tomorrow is when our CLB meeting is, because President says that. So that's like the 16th. If you get any information from that, we can discuss it then, I think, and if we need to adjust the rules or do whatever else.
If you think everybody will be okay with that not being in the packet, I can do that.
I think they will be fine. Now, what that means is I feel very certain, and I just know with the people that we have here, they may want to be able to look at it. But if that's something that we could also just let them know as soon as we get those numbers in, we'll email that out to them. I think that should be okay. And then that would be, and again, I'm looking at David just because he's right there. That's one of those things I think that just when they have not seen it at all till the night of, they have some issue. But if they could even have just a day or two leeway, I think they're happy with that.
Do we want to try to meet next Monday and I work on this week? I hope that this won't take me too long to get all these numbers together.
That'll be fine. Yes, that'll be fine for that purpose. Yes.
I agree.
Those that are on here from the press, do you care to go ahead and get that going in the in the paper and on the radio that the budget committee will meet next Monday at 4.
I got you.
Do we have any further discussion on the solid waste proposal?
I think we've gone as far as we can go on that one.
All right, the next item on the agenda, and I will say that Norman texted me, he's having trouble, he can't get back connected, so,
Yeah, and I don't see him in the waiting room, so I'm not ignoring him.
I think he's I'm gonna go with this snow is just bad connection, so,
Is
I
there
just wanted
anything
to say
else
that
that you guys need the solid waste board for?
I will say that this is, that he's trying to get back on, and if there's no other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make it. I'll see you Monday.
I'll second.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Y'all have a good evening.
Commissioner
You too,
Verdal, do you
thanks.
want to hang out?
I'm sorry?
Commissioner Verdal has been trying to get a